Hey everyone, this is Oracle of the West. Welcome to Chapter 2, a chapter by chapter read of my new book, Ceremony, Intimacy, and Ancient Sacred Sites. Get comfy, here we go with Chapter 2, I Am Remembering Who I Am. And it starts out with a quote from Dubain. I've been out there to visit them myself. We were going down to Atlanta and I was with my parents. I said, hey, want to go check out these Georgia Guidestones? We found it on the map and they said, hey, let's go out there. On I-75, you need to go east 2.5 hours out into the farm country. Then it's just in a field by itself. It's on a negative energy vortex. You know, I could feel it. My parents could feel it too. Ooh, this place is spooky. Well, what's all this place about? Really bad energy out here. We exited through Gate 5. This wasn't the same gate that we'd used during our previous walking excursion to Teo. One morning, earlier in the week, we had shared the journey together in pairs, while one partner closed their eyes. During this walk, I'd been so busy talking and guiding my partner over the landscape to avoid pitfalls that I hadn't paid any attention to the road. It was sunny and bright when Sarah and I turned right outside of Gate 5. Soon we turned onto the first dirt road off to the left. We didn't know it at the time, but that took us into San Sebastian, a different town from where our guest house was located. We cruised forward with confidence. I felt relaxed as Sarah and I chatted about our experiences that morning climbing the Pyramid of the Moon. The village homes looked familiar, with unfinished posts protruding from the outer walls and graffiti decorations. We turned this way and that, looking for the road home. The truth was, we weren't getting any closer. In fact, I didn't feel confident we were getting anywhere. We backtracked and strode around the same streets again. We asked for directions as we tried one street and then another, but no one spoke English and neither of us spoke much Spanish. No one had heard of our guest house either. I didn't feel a sense of direction, but at the same time, every street we crossed felt familiar. I never saw a landmark that felt close to the hotel, even though there had seemed to be landmarks all along the journey. Sarah and I still chatted about our morning on the pyramid, but it wasn't long before we abandoned another residential neighborhood. The afternoon sun started to shift into hot mode as we combed the town for an internet cafe. As soon as we found one, we'd phoned the guest house for directions. As we picked up our pace over the Mexican streets, we reached the business district. A steeple appeared off in the distance that looked just like the Spanish-style church where I'd attended Mass Sunday morning. At the start of the week, I arrived before the rest of the group and had time to explore the village. In a plaza near the guest house, a Spanish cathedral was packed to overflowing for Sunday Mass. The morning was clear, warm, and the air felt refreshing. I joined the outdoor crowd and stood quietly listening to the Spanish with full attention. To close the service, the priest glided outdoors and sprinkled all of us with holy water, blessing us and blessing my journey. I needed his blessing now. I didn't realize we were lost in San Sebastian. I stood on the sidewalk and peered out across the city at the church steeple. Just the sight made you feel grounded into the space. But as I gazed deeper into the landscape, I realized there was an enormous distance between the cafe and that steeple. A blast of anxiety rushed through my body. Where were we? In the cafe, Sarah was trying to get access for her cell. I grabbed mine and thought I'd try dialing our group's coordinator, Glenn. But I felt more stressed with each ring. He wasn't going to pick up, I just knew it. When the rings finally stopped, his voicemail popped and I disconnected. How could I leave details when I didn't know where we were? Next, I tried Arturo, our guest house owner, and within a couple of rings he picked up. Go to the church to meet me. There are a lot of cafes in the area. Are you in San Sebastian? Now I discovered there was more than one town in the area. Suddenly, my perception of Teotihuacan expanded. The name of my village must have been in my notes, but I didn't remember it. Surely Arturo had mentioned the name of our town, but we were lost and I forgot what he said. Suddenly, Sarah stepped outside and flagged down a local taxi. The driver careened over and she forcefully yanked open the passenger door and climbed in. I felt shocked, not just because things were escalating, but I remembered the clear danger of becoming kidnapped in Mexico, and there it was, right in front of my eyes. "The driver knows where our guest house is," she said. Well, maybe that was true, maybe it wasn't. This is really dangerous, I thought. "You don't have to come along." Sarah sounded tense. I couldn't let her take off alone, and reluctantly climbed into the back seat. The driver sped away from the curb while my stomach turned over. As he cruised around a few inner city streets, I thought again about being kidnapped. Pain crawled up my neck, over my face, and landed flat at my forehead. This was going to be a migraine, I thought, imagining the worst. For a few minutes, fear took over and adrenaline shot through my veins. I sunk back, but within a few minutes of bumpy potholes, the driver was about to pull out onto a major road. Now we really were in unfamiliar territory. I didn't know what to do. Time skewed sideways. I raised my voice over the engine's surge in a frantic attempt to get a handle on the situation. My words bubbled out with a stress level that struck the cab ceiling and then bounced into the clouds. The driver raised his arm and pointed ahead, saying in broken English that he knew the hotel and it was close by. In surrender, I sighed as he accelerated onto the major road. Soon we turned right onto another pot-filled dirt road and drove into a village. Maybe this was another road into San Sebastian, or maybe it was our guest house village. Again, the streets looked familiar, but then so had the streets in San Sebastian.